1. Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to yet again another fantastic indie creator interview. It's your Cape Crusader Code, and we're keeping it geekly with our returning guests, Tommy Kulik and
Tyler Villano Maron.
See, I cannot hit that. Thank you for coming in clutch with that. We're here to break down Oswald and the Star Chaser issue 2 and everything in between. And coming in hot off the debut issue, you know, how are you guys feeling? How have you guys been since you last been on the show?
I mean, how are you feeling, Tommy?
I'm feeling good. It's still, riding that high of comics out. Not all the way feeling real yet, but still trying to get there.
Yeah, I am feeling fantastic. Just personally, the comic, I don't know if anyone has read it or cares about it. I'm in my mind, I'm hoping, and I'm just assuming that everyone likes it. So, because we haven't really heard, but everyone read it, everyone likes it.
Yeah, I had the chance to read both. I had a blast. I thought it was an out-of-this-world experience. I'm going to use that once again this time. Last time we had you on was interview 277. This time is 370, so almost 7 away from 100 interviews. In between, for anyone tuning in for the first time, let's go ahead and start with the basics again. So how did you two end up meeting? I love your guys' introduction story. It's awesome. Tommy, why don't you go ahead and take the wheel?
It was a long time ago. I think it was in Final Fantasy 14, an MMO. I think Tyler was doing graphic design at the time. I showed him some comic books. I was always showing people comics that I was reading. Hawkeye Fraction, I believe that was what sold him on the medium. And then I mentioned, I want to do comic books. And then eventually I pitched him Oswald and the Star Chaser. I think I pitched as a space fantasy fairy tale, young knight and a cool guy in a space helmet, and that was all we needed.
Yeah, Venture Bros in Space. That's pretty much how you wrote it.
So Tyler, what was your initial reaction when you first got a hold of this? You're not only the co-writer, co-creator, but also the letterer on this as well, if I'm not mistaken.
That's true. I am. My take on all this, we conceived the series and he pitched it to me a long time ago when I was in my early 20s, 23, 22. I was young. I was a young boy. I'm still young. I'm still very young. I'm only 27. Just kidding. I'm 30. I'm turning 31.
Oh, really? Hey, well, happy birthday if that's close. I'm 33, turning 34, and it's all downhill from here. The back goes out, the knees start to go out, and yeah.
I'm feeling great. But no, and I forget. Scout reached out to us to do these written interviews, and I went over this whole thing there, and now I can't remember it. But essentially, Tommy was my friend, and I said yes because I like my friends. I don't know. It sounded cool because we both like Star Wars. We both were into the same kind of stuff, and making my own thing. Because at the time, I think I wanted to write picture books or something, and comic books were even cooler. So I'm like, let's do it. And 7 years later, here we are. It doesn't take that long for everyone, but it might for you.
Hey, however long it takes. You can't, you can't rush perfection, right? So one thing I love so much about this is each and every character feels so fleshed out and different. In sci-fi, I often find that, a lot of the background characters tend to just blend into the environment, where these characters really stand out. And from our last interview, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of these names come from errors or spelling mistakes that Tyler, you kind of point out and who's this, give me a little bit more on this, give us a little bit of that process, because it's worked out perfect. We see a lot of awesome characters that are fleshed out in this world.
I think improvisation is a tool that's not used enough, whatever word for that. An underused tool, and it can be a little daunting, just having to improv things. But at least for me, as when I write stuff, my worst writing comes from overthinking, and it just gets so bad that sometimes I just have to axe a project I've thought about this for too long. But I would prompt Tommy because we're fast typers. We always talk to each other on Discord. Makes a spell mistake, new character, boom, talk about it.
It's a 2-step process, where maybe a 3-step, where it's generally me typoing something, because early on a lot of our talking was when I'm walking or doing something and I'm on my phone, I'm not gonna spell correctly on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
Butcher some word, and then I'll point the word and be like, hey, what the character is this? And then I'll come up with a character, and then eventually got to the point where I was getting so done with this, where I would make like more and more absurd. And I'd be like, okay, cool, put it in the book. And you're like, okay.
Tyler would be like, "What's this alien language? Give me the backstory on this."
Make something from nothing, and at this point, years later, we can spell a lot better, and a lot more thought goes into it. But I always enjoy that.
Absolutely. We have our good friend Captain B-Dub joining us over on Twitch saying, "We Geekly." Thank you for joining us. I appreciate that. For everyone watching, you have the opportunity to get issue 1 right now from Scout Comics. Issue 2 will be dropping later this month. Let me go ahead and drop this link. If you guys can buy issue 1, we would love to see that. But simply putting this wherever you can is 100% free. Word of mouth is always the best tool in getting advertisement and just promotion out there. So, man, one thing in particular about issue 1 was Oswald and the Star Chaser. Give us a little bit about these two characters. I love this dynamic duo a ton. Tyler, why don't you go ahead and give us a little bit of some of the inspiration behind these two?
Oh yeah, and just kind of you dropped that link, and trailing off what you just said is that to everyone watching, this is actually our first our like debut, like number 1 in the comic industry. So supporting us right now is like really appreciated, and just really cool of you to do, because like eventually we'll be on interview 700, and it'll be like our 5th series, but this is the first one. This is the ground floor, so appreciate you. Oswald and Star Chaser, they're I don't know, I forgot all about them. They're a wacky I'm gonna give this one to Tommy. Because he did the con, and he's gonna talk about a con he recently did. He's really nailed that the elevator pitch, so I want to hear it. Who's Oswald and Star Chaser, Tommy?
There's a lot of inspiration for the 2 different characters. I think Oswald, I didn't do this on purpose, but one of my friends described him as a combination of Hank and Dean Venture from the Venture Brothers.
Okay. So
I think I did that on accident. But he's kind of like a really young, goofy space knight, and I didn't want. It's kind of like Luke Skywalker before he becomes, Luke in Return of the Jedi, where he's just kind of a goofy guy, more lighthearted. I think I played a lot more silly than Luke is, because he's just a kid. And then Star Chaser is kind of, every cool space person that you see in every show, the mysterious, aloof, badass.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a little bit of a mystery there, and then she looks cool.
Yeah.
So they got a distinct silhouette. You see Oswald, you see Star Chaser, like, oh, okay, you know exactly what's going on with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then we did. Was that?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, and then I know Tyler wanted a lot of Samus from Metroid, channeled into Star Chaser, right? So we tried to do a little bit of that.
Yeah. In the beginning, when we were showing Star Chaser to people, naturally, everyone thought it was a robot. Oswald and a robot, and it's like, no, actually, it's a woman in a suit, in a big power suit. Which, yeah, so obviously that was big Metroid. I'm the biggest Metroid fan. Well, not the biggest, but it tracks.
No, that's awesome. How'd you feel about the latest Metroid game?
That was Dread.
Yeah, did you like it?
Oh yeah. I finished it. It was great. It was great. It's not even 2.5D anymore. It's like 3D, but like side scrolling still. I really enjoyed it because I played Fusion, Zero Mission, all the way back.
No, that's awesome.
So-
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to check it out. It looked like a game that was right up my alleyway. I know we were all talking backstage about the new Zelda coming out too. All these new games are just dropping left and right. A lot of remakes too. Did you guys get a chance to play the Dead Space remake?
Not yet, but I like Dead Space, and
It was brutal.
eventually,
I really played Dead Space. I did play the Metroid Dread, and I've got to get back to Prime Remaster. Those are both really good.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But let's get back to what we're here to talk about, and that's Oswald and the Star Chaser. So back to Star Chaser. Tyler, I really love the lettering with Star Chaser, how like it's orange and it feels a little bit more robotic, like it would come from a power suit. Is this your first time diving into lettering as a a letterer in the industry, or have you had experience before?
no.
Wow, this is some awesome work. I mean, what went into learning like how to letter?
I'll show you exactly what actually went into it. There's been like 2 major lettering books. Where the hell is the other one? Oh, all right. You're gonna see me reach over again. This one's a deep cut for all my lettering fanatics out there. Like for a long time, this was the only book that was out. So you can see all my tabs. And it's the Comic Craft Guide to Lettering. I remember I used this when they picked up Star Chaser, and like when we were lettering the pitch and everything. And since then, Blambot, my beloved Nick Piakos, this is probably the best book ever if you like want just a comprehensive deep dive into lettering and just like everything that you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, also been a graphic designer since college, 11, 10 years. Passage of time is crazy.
So you had a little experience going into it, but I mean, lettering in itself is a whole different art form within comics, and it's really underappreciated, I feel. So I wanted to take a moment to really acknowledge it, because I think you hit it out the park on your first book, man, and your second one.
The Star Chaser lettering, it is pretty incredible. I want to shout out because I don't know if you can notice it, but it's like 2 fonts overlay each other. What he does is really neat.
Yeah, I actually got my lettering portfolio site live, VillanoMaron.com. Just literally the 2 last names.com, and I put some samples like of a zoom in detail of the Star Chaser dialogue, balloon, and text, so you can kind of see the up close. And but Star Chaser lettering was like a trial by fire for sure. Like not just her, but like the whole at first. And since then, I've lettered another book or 2. I'm on Scout Comics. Michael Sanchez, really great, amazing guy, has Patty and Laz coming out. The Ashcan's on the Scout site, but I'm honored that I'm doing lettering for his series. And
congratulations, that's awesome.
Thank you. And I just finished the first issue of the book, and like just with every lettering project you do, you hone the lettering. There's a 6th lettering sense that has to do with like the space between like the gutter between the text and like the balloon stroke, and just like the eye line. There's just all these little things that you can read about, but it really takes experience to have it come naturally. So if you're like a new letterer, don't fret,
I mean, and practice, experience probably would be key in this, and it just looked like you had so much. I love it. Each and every single word bubble just looked like it was done by a pro. So awesome job on that, Tyler. Tommy, though, I'm curious. When Tyler, going back to what we were talking about earlier, when he would point out these errors and be like, give me more about that. What went into the process of fleshing out some of these characters with the unique names?
So I guess so we kind of do a back and forth when we're writing this, where we have the idea phase, and a lot of these characters were characters we kind of pitched to each other, and it's goofy little characters, and then we made like a long list of these different characters, and then we would brainstorm like what the issues would look like the general story beats, and then I would kind of outline those story beats out, and then I would think, oh, is there a character I could fit in here? And I look at the list of characters. Oh yeah, there's the Moyorello, the cheese guy. Throw him. So I just kind of seeing what we can take and then adapting that, and then a lot of times it's just like I need a character, something goofy, and then when you got a character that's fun to write, it's easy to kind of just flesh them out. Or it's not like here's their backstory. You're able to write them, and it feels more real. Like I can't tell you the life story of the Devilfish duo, but I enjoy writing them, so they feel more fleshed out. Just because you can get that personality easy to nail down.
If you give me 5 minutes, I could create the life story of Devilfish duo.
I love how every time they leave their calling cards. That's like it, dude. It is so humorous. I love it so much. And speaking of the second issue, we see them again, and I love their appearance just as much. Those two are just for anyone listening. Can you give us a little bit about the Devilfish duo? Tyler, why don't you go ahead and take the wheel on this one?
Yeah, so they are our comic relief, but eventually they're gonna kind of come into their own. There are two thieves. I mean, yeah. So the two thieves who wear branded a luchador kind of get-ups, and they're called the Devilfish duo, I think, because their masks, which kind of look like superhero masks, that kind of go over the head like the luchador, look like are based off of the actual real life Devilfish and a manta ray, I think, for the other one. Their names are Jackson and Praxton, and well, their names are Jackson Prax, but they call each other by their full names, Jackson and Praxton, because only one of the Devilfish can lay claim to the coveted double X, so Jax with two X's or Prax with two X's, and neither one wants to give the other one the benefit of the double X. And just that alone kind of spells out their entire characters.
I love that so much.
As far as influence goes, I would say they're on Tommy's side, he kind of came in with the two main henchmen from Venture Bros. Now that I'm watching it finally, I feel like I can see a lot of them. And I think I kind of came in with some Undertale, very at the beginning with Sans and Papyrus. They're goofy, kind of back and forth kind of deal, and through them made these characters. I love writing them. They're really fun to write and letter.
Wasn't there a series about them before?
It was a short 12-page little webcomic that we put out. So I was I think we were a little stuck on getting Album Star Chaser because it was such a huge undertaking, and I had written in the Devilfish duo in issue 1. I was like, man, I want to do something short and quick, and so then we came up with the 12-page little webcomic.
Yeah, and and right now I'm actually, because we had put that out. I think I lettered it in 2018, and we put it out in 2019 onto Tumblr. And I think it's still there. But right now, because I'm kind of between lettering jobs, please hire me. I'm actually remastering kind of all the lettering, and we're gonna put it on our Substack. We got this the Spaceways newsletter, and we're gonna kind of release with each one. We're gonna put a couple pages of it, and then eventually it'll all be on Global Comics or Webtoons or something.
That's really cool, though. I really like the idea of releasing a couple pages on Substack with what was the name of the newsletter again? That was so catchy.
Spaceways.
I love it. That is awesome. That's almost like a radio station name.
That's it's the little highway they ride in issue 1.
Oh, that's so cool. That is perfect.
It's full of stars moment.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Cody. I put it in our little backstage link here. It's a completely free newsletter. It'll always be free, and it's just to keep up with Tommy and I, kind of everything we do, kind of Star Chaser and otherwise, and we give updates, but also advice for aspiring comic creators. People trying to break into the biz, and also these little free pages. So,
and then right there is the link for everyone to check out. So it's free to check out. Go there. They're going to be dropping pages of the remaster page comic that Tyler's working on. So be sure to check that out too. Every couple of pages. Very excited too. Thank you for dropping that. Now back to issue 2. I had the chance to read this, and it is so gorgeous. Who's the creative team involved? Can we give a shout out to the artist?
Yeah, so the main artist is Tom Hoskisson. I gotta ask him how to pronounce that last name. I think that's right. He's in Australia. He's a great artist. He did the art for issue 1 as well. Really helps, give life to the comic. The first few pages are colored by Simon Robbins from issue 1, and then I think starting with page 4 and on, Rebecca Good takes over for the colors, and then she's also incredible. She colored a Pulitzer Prize winning comic for a newspaper. I had to look up the name. I'm kind of drawing a blank on that, but yeah, her colors are great.
And she is now our permanent series colorist, because we love Simon Robbins. We hope he flourishes in his career. He's already got a lot behind him, but he had to depart from the project, and he actually recommended Rebecca, and she's just been amazing. She's colored through issue 6, which is all done. It's in Scout's hands, but excited for everyone to see.
Wow, impressive! You guys have that many issues already out and ready to go.
Yeah, and if you look at her Twitter and her TikTok, she's got a few of the later pages, and you can see the black and white versus her colors, and they are incredible.
Yeah, she does sneak peeks too. That's awesome.
Yeah. She has like a process of coloring or something.
Yeah, some of the colors for issue 4 and 5 are probably my favorite of the book. They are just simply beautiful.
I loved the beginning of this when you have Oswald and Star Chaser aboard the ship, and just how detailed it is. Like, it's filled with screens left and right. It's so colorful. It's so gorgeous. I mean, what did your guys' direction look like when you scripted it out compared to when the artist, took a hold of it?
So if you ever look at a Alan Moore script, he will give you an entire page for a single panel, and I don't do that. I don't do that. I would say there's a bunch of screens. I can give the vibe, and then I leave it to Tom, and then he's a master of just including these little details. He's so smart on including these background stuff.
I really love to when they first hit the landing station, just how filled out this world is and lived in, and how Oswald thought this was the Axis, and Star Chaser's like, no, you fool, this is just a landing station. And then the merchants were some of my favorite too. Tyler, can you give us a little bit about some of these merchants? They're just so bombastic. I loved them.
Oh, yes, I can. I can tell you all about Seli Natim, who is the very first side character to appear in issue 2 on Axis, and he was absolutely inspired by all the vendors in video games from over the years, like the one in Toad Town in Paper Mario 64. Who's always got his little shop. It rolls out, the rug rolls out, and he's this character sells like badges to Mario, but he's always got like a rotating stock. And also for anyone who played Undertale, I'm not looking at my camera. Yeah, so anyone who played Undertale, I'm looking at you. The ice cream vendor from who appears in pretty much every single like kind of locale that you go to in Undertale. Like this character reappears and you can buy ice cream from him, and so just all that culminated into this character selling that team, who will be important later on. Actually, no, I'm totally bullshitting. But right now, Tommy and I are actually finalizing volume 2, like the volume 2 beats. And just last night, I was like, all right, Tommy, yeah, this is all looking great. It's fantastic, but we have to include Seli in that team. in issue 8 at this new locale. I'm not gonna spoil it, but this new very exotic place that Star Chaser and Oswald go to. He's gonna be there. With
traveling vendor vibes. Let's go.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah, in 3 words instead of 200. Yeah.
Oh, that is so awesome. In particular too, there was that moment where Oswald's wearing like the goggles and that sound effect bubble that pops up behind him was just so visually striking. I love it, man. Was that you, Tyler, or was that the artist?
Oh, was that like the kind of pixelated?
Yes.
No, that was me. And for how early it was in my lettering career, that was like a grace from God, I guess. Because
gorgeous. It looks glitched out too. It was like perfect. Yeah. No, that is so awesome. So, Tommy, what, on your end of things, what went into your side of things when creating this fleshed out like intro to the Axis?
Axis is kind of I think a lot of the stuff that we kind of riffed on with each other, a lot of that was Axis centered. So when it came time to write Axis, it was pretty easy, where we already had like a lot of characters that we could just slot in there. And then I think a lot of it was just kind of pulling from, me hanging around downtown Chicago, and be like, oh, there's always like little weird things going on. I know one thing that I really appreciated with Tom is I gave a bunch of different signs. So be like, oh, there's a bunch of buildings with different signs saying stuff like this. And then one of them I put in as a joke was Syntho Meat Base, and he made that the biggest sign.
It was just so funny. We're like, there's no way that we're going to request any kind of redraw. This is just so funny. It's the biggest one.
I love that. And then we have the Euporium too, which was literally a hole in the wall. I thought that.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite little bits. Like, it's a real hole in the wall, and then
Another thing that was so visually striking was the sky map when they're looking up, because where they're at has no day and night cycle. It's just like a party, like it's just nightlife 24/7. I mean, holy crap, this city is just so gorgeous. Tyler, can you give me a little bit about what to expect in this city? I mean, for anyone who's looking to dive into the series, what can they expect when they get to the access point?
We're not at its access yet. Oh man, I loved just Oswald being just blown away by this new city, because it's really the first city he's ever been to, and I think that part at least. And the sky map as well was a lot taken from me. I'm in my early 20s, having moved to New York City, Manhattan, Queens, from Connecticut, where I grew up. So it was, and being in Times Square, where it's literally lit up 24/7, like the blaring white lights and ads. I think that inspired the synthetic sky map, which we see on page 12 or 14 or so. It's ingrained in my mind because I letter it. I got a file for every for every page, and just Oswald's wonder was kind of me just finally being able to explore this city. But and also at the end of issue 2, getting after the end of issue 2, getting ahead of myself, but at the end we include some behind the scenes. And I talk about it there in depth, so I'll just name drop it a little bit right now, and you can see it at the end in the bonus spread in issue 2. But a lot of Axis, in addition to kind of Tommy and my personal experiences in our cities that we were in at the time we were writing, which was kind of our mid-20s, was Alan Palomo is a musician and really cool. He makes music under the name Neon Indian. He's pretty well known in the indie scene, and he does some solo stuff too. And Tommy knows both of us really enjoy his album from 2015 called Vega International Night School. And if you haven't listened to it, you really should. It's a vibe. and kind of I forget what city it might have been LA, but like a lot of those vibes, like kind of a seedy 80s kind of thing. But so his music and the visuals from that album definitely inspired Axis as well, and just all that together is what to expect. I just want Tommy for like 1 minute to talk about the giant walking eye. Where did that come from? That's not one of my characters.
Oh, that's Difflon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he is the Difflon's Emporium. I know there's a giant walking eye in Venture. I think that might have been a joke off of that, but I really wanted a character who was just kind of a big eye. I think the original way I wrote it was like it was a big eye with little arms, and he had like hung off of him. I think Tom drew him like in a little jumpsuit. I think the design's great. Finding like this big eyes kind of climbing around the hole in the wall.
He has to keep like a bottle spray of Clear Eyes on him in case he starts drying out.
There's some more fun characters in later on in issues too. I think there's the robot bartender who's just a big screen that hangs around the little bar they go to meet Johnny 2-Sec.
I don't even know what his name. I don't even remember what his name is at this point, because it was Andrew Kron was his first name, and then which that name was not one of our improvisations. That was actually I was doing graphic design at Midtown Comics at the time, and the shout out to our marketing guy. I think I had a crush on him too. His name is Andrew something. I can't believe I forgot his last name, but Andrew was like so great at marketing, and so I'm like, to Tommy while we're writing this, which this was 2017, 2016, I think. Let's have this was we had no idea about Axis, but I'm like a marketing robot would be fine, like a robot who's like a marketer. So that's how his name became Andrew Cron, and then by the time we got to 2019, Tom's drawing it, 2020, and he did the sign at the top said Andrew Korn, because in our script we I think Tommy or me misspelled it. We misspelled the character name, and so his name is Andrew Korn, and it's just really I like his name a lot.
That's all. Does he know he's in the book?
He doesn't. If he reaches out, we can grab some coffee.
Hey, yeah, no, that's awesome though. That is awesome. Another interesting character. Not to spoil too much though. Oswald search to find a hero. I love it. And then they find one in particular who is retired, and just like his backstory was phenomenal. Tommy, what went into designing the next hero that Oswald's looking for?
We can name drop him. We can tease him. We won't say the whole spoiler, but yeah, let's talk about Johnny 2-Sec. Tell me about him, Tommy.
So he is a old star racer. I had a lot of different ideas on what that meant, but I knew I wanted Johnny 2-Sec : Star Racer, because that sounds like a cool thing. It's a cool name, and I was trying to figure out, okay, what is the 2 seconds mean? How can that fit for a racer? And I think it popped in my head, and it was kind of like a bit in the category. It was like, oh, I won my race by 2 seconds, and I was like, that's not that special. So no, I won every race by 2 seconds. And so that's kind of like that same trend where every character's kind of just a little goofy, things are a little silly, but it's played totally straight. So yeah, he wins every race by 2 seconds, but like a style thing where he does it.
How good he is. So he can get it down to exactly like 2 seconds.
Oh, that is awesome. And his character design is just as great as well. I love it. I can't wait for this series to drop. We have issue 2 dropping later this month, guys. Right here is the link to check it out at Scout Comics. Let me get this copied one more time. Now, can you tell us the importance of people pre-ordering this comic at their local comic book shop for your guys' debut issue 1 and issue 2? Give us a little bit about why it's important. Tyler, why don't you go ahead and take the wheel on this one?
Why is it important to pre-order comics at your local comic book shop? Well, I'm here to tell you why. because one, it supports the LCS, which is cool. Like buying it digital is also awesome, but that's kind of the brick and mortar. Like my comic book shop, the one I'm a regular at. I got my pull list at is We Love Comics in Tampa. Shout out to Tim there. Runs a great comic shop, and if you watching have your own LCS, it's great to support them, and kind of pre-ordering it guarantees them a little profit, as well as the creators. And I guess eventually the kind of pre-order numbers go into, like, maybe your publisher sees it. Scott hasn't really reached out to us about that, but I assume that they're seeing these pre-order numbers. So the more they see, kind of the more they'll retweet our stuff or something. But just supporting us in any way is, as new creators who broke in and have to stay in now, staying in comics. Just really appreciate it to everyone.
And guys, it's always 100% free. Just to even retweet the link, just to even put the link wherever you can, is 100% free. So you don't have to spend $1. But we would love to see you buy and pick up issue 1. It is a phenomenal read. I had the chance to read it, and I loved it myself. Tommy, did you have anything you wanted to say as well?
Yeah, that's like you said. It's important just to order it ahead of time, just so you can show that there's interest in the comic, and then you're building a relationship with your local comic store. I always promote going in your comic book store and seeing what's there, seeing what they got, and then you can say, hey, I like this comic, you got anything else like that, and then they can get you more comics to read.
That's something I just remembered, is that our publisher is Scout Comics, and they're not, we're not on the level of Dark Horse or Image yet, so a lot of comic book shops don't order the Scout Comics by default. They don't order every single one like they do for Image. So pre-ordering is a way to, one, express interest, but two, ensure that they have a copy there for you, because some don't. It's kind of a small mid-small publisher.
Absolutely. So Tommy, backstage you were talking about attending some cons later this month or this year. Can you tell us about where we could expect to find you?
Yes. So in the end of June 30th, I'm going to be at the Capital City Con in Lansing, Michigan. In the fall, there is a convention in, I want to say Springfield, Illinois. I want to try and go to. I have to reach out to Scout and see what we can do there. Capital City, I'm really excited for. It looks like a pretty big convention. I'll be tabling there with another Scout creator. We'll be representing Scout, the publisher as a whole, but I'll still have my own book there. Oswald and the Chaser, issue 1 and 2. Maybe 3 by then. I would have 3 by then.
That's awesome.
Hopefully. And then last month I was in Iowa for Quad City Con in Davenport. That was a lot of fun.
Traveling all over too. That is awesome. You guys are getting this book all across the states.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That is phenomenal. What's next for you guys in 2023? What else can we expect from you guys?
So right now, we're still working on Oswald Volume 2. And then we also have a few other things in the background. I'm working on outlining a fantasy comic to crowdfund. I want to start doing some Kickstarter stuff. Don't know how much of that I can talk about, but I know the vibe is Ocean's 11, Dungeons and Dragons, Lord of the Rings, all mishmashed together. So.
Wizards.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Tyler, what about you though? You mentioned that you might be working on another project as well.
That's one of them. Yeah.
Oh, that's one of them? Oh, okay.
Tommy and I are keeping our Tommy and Tyler TNT. Pretty much going to be like that forever. We're a package deal. A musical duo, a duo act.
I love that though. TNT explosive, right? Like boom.
Yeah, well, we're still deciding what our comic book label is going to be called, but yes, we're already put all our stuff. But yeah, we got that in the works. I'll be kind of the same capacity as Star Chaser, and in kind of all the TNT kind of stuff between Tommy and I. someone will take kind of lead on a project, and they're kind of the lead, the director, the script writer. I think in movie terms, honestly, because writer and co-writer it's a bit reductive. I think just on that comics page, like so like for this one, which is Project Codename Enigma, it might change in the future, but which is the D&D Ocean's 11 one. Tommy is kind of the director here, and I'm co-writing and lettering this one. So same as Star Chaser. Tom was the director of Star Chaser, like lead script kind of thing, and I co-write and do dialogue, some dialogue as well. But then, so we're working on a couple things. So like there's another in the works, in the TNT works, called Deathwalk, and that one I'm kind of the lead on, the director, and Tommy's helping to co-write it. And we got Stefano Cardacelli for that one on the art. And so we're working on that pitch, and we'll see if that'll be a crowdfund or pitch to some of these indie publishers. But yeah, so we're definitely keeping on top of the career going forward, which is kind of one of my definitely an initiative that's been in my head, like not just sitting on Star Chaser and seeing how it does, like being productive. I think is important to staying in the industry after you break in.
Absolutely. So we've come to one of my favorite parts of the show, where we get to end on some awesome pieces of advice. So I know in the calendar link, you guys wanted to make sure we talked about tips for aspiring creators. I think this is like the perfect opportunity. So Tyler, Tommy, for anyone looking to break into the industry with their first issue, what would be some of your advice to kind of help them, make sure that's a successful introductory for them, the way to make it just hit the hardest for them?
Yeah, we can finally offer that now because we have our first
Tyler, Tommy, let's go ahead. Tommy, let's start with you since we had Tyler talking last.
So I guess making sure you've got a team that you like working with. If it's something you're enjoying doing and with the people you enjoy working with, everything after releasing it is still, kind of fun. And I think people can see you have the passion for it. And then my biggest advice I always say is don't be afraid to just rewrite stuff. If you're a writer, I've had to rewrite things 100 times.
Yeah, you have a lot of that technical writer advice. You're a pro writer, Tommy. We're still deciding in our Discord. It's just me and him. We got this little server where we talk. We're still deciding if we're pros or not. I think we're pros. I mean, we're not pros, but we're definitely getting there.
I would say you guys are pros. I mean, your first book got picked up by a publisher. I would like to see the percentage of people's first work getting out there, getting picked up by a publisher. I would almost guess it's probably under 10%, if not under 5%. It's a pretty big accomplishment, in my opinion, at least. I'm not a comic creator, but from someone who's interviewed like 370 people, like I would tell you the percentage of those who've had their first debut issue get picked up is probably slim as well. Like I would say you guys are pro, in my opinion.
All right, so I appreciate that, first off. So I think then one piece of advice to follow up is to have like try to bolster that self-confidence. At all sorts of because Tommy and I, we used to go to C2E2. I would fly in, and we attended had like a whole list of all the panels we were doing, and breaking into comics panels was definitely important, and it helped us a lot. But in a lot of the breaking into comics panels, the audience, Q&A will bring up the imposter syndrome, and I think that is it's all in your head. I mean, I guess once you're published, you're a pro. But speaking now as myself, I think it's also important to keep that professional kind of quality present in your mind, kind of everywhere. Like you might have gotten like your first comic published, but that doesn't mean you're like hot shit and can start like making lots of like political hot takes on Twitter, like and not maybe I and Tommy knows this is a whole thing for me. Like I'm very staunch in freedom of speech, but as well, I think that there's like just because you're like published, like putting out there a lot of like kind of stuff that might be a little controversial might not be super great for your career. Like I think that everyone should be able to see what they say, but as well, keep it professional to a degree. I think it's important to kind of put on a good what am I looking for, Tommy? Like to
brand
be
image,
a kind of professional role model. So sort of like for because there are people who are professional and kind of do a lot of that controversial stuff, and just because you got published doesn't mean you should start doing that.
Well, it doesn't mean you're uncancelable too, right? Like you have a whole brand image to maintain. So I mean, just because you hit hot doesn't mean that water can't douse that flame.
Yeah, I mean, it's really the opposite. I mean, you have to stay very and this is something that I learned, after being published, and then kind of to where I am now after a couple of years is staying kind of dignified, and it is very important because you can get very into that. Oh, now I'm a published writer persona, and I'm like, I can do whatever I want, and no one actually cares. I think you should don't do anything like my personal advice is don't do anything that like could alienate anyone from either side of the street. I think it's important to curate a accessible brand as a creative, just for anyone, because if you decide to like alienate half the people in the United States, I don't know, just either you like say you don't like dogs or something. Like you're very adamant about not liking dogs. Well, then everyone who does like dogs will kind of take offense to that. So it's like you can kind of have to weigh it and kind of stay grounded.
Yeah. Mama Geekly coming in saying gotta stay humble. I think that fits perfect as well. And then she wishes you both best of luck as well. Thank you for stopping in, Mama. Always a pleasure to see you. So guys, real quick before we end things, I always love ending it on a super strong note, and that's what you're consuming outside of creating. So video games, comic books, movies, TV series. What are you guys consuming?
Well, I like this one. You can go first, Tommy.
I just went and saw Return of the Jedi in theaters.
Okay, yeah.
Anniversary. That was still holds up. I don't think I need to say that. It was a great movie. Shin Kamen Riders coming out at the end of the month. Looking forward to that, so I get my ticket for it. Star Wars Visions just dropped. I'm going to be watching that at some point.
I heard it was really good.
Yeah, it looked good, so I got to go ahead and I'm watching that. Zelda's next week. New book from Stephen Brust. I just got that, so finally getting to read it. It came 5 days late, so I'm looking forward to finishing that up. So a lot of reading. I get a giant stack of comics as well.
Dude, you didn't tell me the new Star Wars Visions is out. I rely on you for only Star Wars news.
Star Wars Day.
I didn't know that. All right, then I have to.
Hey, we know what Tyler's doing after the interview, right?
I'm going to free comic book day.
I haven't eaten yet. I have to see if Tim texted me. I might hop over to my LCS. But what kind of media? I like this question. Yeah, kind of show your personal taste. What have I been? Yeah, shout out to your mom. Checking into the stream, by the way. My parents as well are very big. They're going to watch this interview. They watch all my interviews. They're big supporters. And
she'll wear all my merch too. She loves it.
No, yeah, my dad already owns like a Star Chaser poster. Yeah, but that kind of stuff is just so appreciated, as well as watching our interview. But yeah, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom next week. I'm like staying off social media like I'm not really big on social media anyway, but like I'm staying off all the like video game boards and image boards because there will be spoilers because it leaked already. So definitely keeping low key on Zelda. That's gonna be my entire weekend. Next weekend, just from beginning to end, and then I go to work the next morning in the gym. What else? I'm almost done with Luana Vecchio's Lovesick on Image. I enjoyed that one. Rereading Grant Morrison Doom Patrol. That's another one that Tommy had introduced Grant Morrison to me, in the very early days when he was pitching Star Chaser, and that's my favorite series ever. Actually, comic book series. If I had to write in an answer, is Doom Patrol by Grant Morrison. He picks up the first run and writes a legendary, very thoughtful, intrinsic, not really psychedelic, but a bit as well. Just a very interesting take, which was kind of my gateway into the kind of alternate indie comics, but it was on Vertigo, but also like the all kinds of superheroes. So I was never a big superhero person.
Mm-hmm.
And Tommy he mentioned the Fraction Hawkeye run, and that got me into it a lot because it was like, all right, this is like superheroes, but not a very fresh, interesting take on it. That was kind of my indie thing because I come from the indie side back then, and he's very cape of capes. But yeah, I'm looking over here to think about what else. Yeah. I had Tommy for like the last 7 years was always getting me to watch the Venture Bros, and because now I can say it's a very good series, but I don't know, and so much that I was like, yeah, all right, when Star Chaser gets published, I'll watch it, I'll marathon it from the day Star Chaser gets published, and he was like, and so like from the time we got it was from the day our first issue was on shelves.
Mm-hmm.
Was that was going to happen, and there were delays, and he's like, "You're not going to watch it. I'm going to marathon and watch that first episode on the day it gets on shelves." And March 8th was the first day I watched Venture Bros, and I'm on season 3 now, and it's a extremely well written series. I'm sure he, just really really funny, but the characters are, just the writing is extremely tight, very much like Seinfeld, just really tight writing. The jokes keep coming, which I'm a big fan of that Frasier show. But yeah, so I'm marathoning through that 7 series, and Tommy's excited that I'm doing that. I'm enjoying it. Anyone should watch the Venture Brothers. I'm seeing a lot of like retroactively, like a lot of Tommy's Oswald and Star Chaser influence in that series, which was a cartoon on Adult Swim for anyone under the age of like 16, and I think it's going to influence my co-writing for Star Chaser going forward. Just writing Oswald and leaning even more into kind of the humor and the absurdity, taking ourselves a little less seriously maybe for volume 2, but that will culminate into a very fleshed out product.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for swinging by, breaking down issue 2 and everything in between. Everyone watching, right there is the link to head over to Scout to get issue 1, and stay hot on that link. Issue 2 will be dropping sometime later this month, so you'll get a chance to buy that as well. Thank you guys once again for this awesome chat. Everyone watching, I hope you all have a lovely Saturday, but most importantly, guys, keep it geekly.